Well, good morning, everybody, from beautiful, sunny downtown Chagrin Falls, Ohio. Hope you guys are all doing well. And thank you for attending today. We've got another full house, and this brings us to our last kitchen webinar for the time being. And we have a double header today at 10 o'clock, which is really amazing. Talk about a large crowd. So at 10 o'clock, if you are in the 10 o'clock, you'll need to link out and then re-register and get in for the 10 o'clock. So what we're going to do today, this is a series that we've come a long way. Hopefully you guys have learned a lot. And also remember, you can ask questions as we go, and I'll do my best to answer them. But this is the second of a seminar that I've given down at the IX Center and down at the downtown at the NARI show. Very popular. I've never been a big trends person because trends seem to come and go and things like that. And I'm more, something that's going to be more in character with the home and timeless and things. But the thing that's interesting, and one of the reasons why I picked this one back up, is the trends are tending to stick for a long time, and which is really interesting to see. Usually trends are come and go. I've been doing this 35 years, and it's really fun to do this talk, or maybe not so fun as I'm gaining more experience in life. But what's happening is I'm seeing trends over the 35 years come and go. And some of the ones, and it's almost like a bell curve, like they'll go up and down. One of the examples will be these apron front sinks. That's a real interesting one that goes up and down over the years. So let's get started. Again, thank you for viewing, and let's go have some fun. Okay, the first one, the wellness kitchen. This is really interesting because what's happening over time, I've done a couple kitchens. One of them was in Solon about 2 years ago, where we had a window, and the window was dropped lower than and it was in the front of the house. It was dropped lower than where the countertop would be by about 6 or 8 inches. And one of the things that I've always done in a situation like that, if the person was a plant lover, is I would go and we put in an herb garden right in the window. It created like a window box effect. And, and we put in lights that would, growing lights and things like that. So it's very interesting. So he had his own little herb garden in the kitchen. But the reason I'm saying this, you're going to see as you go and read more and more, you're going to see a lot more about the wellness kitchen. And I do a lot of trying to bring, because I'm a very outdoorsy guy, I'm trying to, in a lot of the kitchens, bring the outdoors in. And the way to do that would be with natural lighting, bringing some natural elements like artwork, reclaimed wood walls, things like that, bring it into the space. And then we can also do it from a functional standpoint. Like if we wanted to go and be more in keeping with the environment, why not go after that induction cooktop beside, as opposed to gas or propane? Another big thing people are doing, and I think I pointed it out in the past webinars, but if you do composting, we can actually put a little trash can in one of the cabinets with a lid on the countertop, and we can go in and we can go and use that as a composting center. So you're going to see more and more about the wellness. Look at the floor there. Talking about floors, there's something you don't see that often, a cork floor, which I've done in the past. So you're going to see that term wellness kitchen. Sherwin-Williams. I'm a big Sherwin-Williams guy, and they're local. It's really interesting that the color of the year is navel. And what Sherwin-Williams does, and I work a lot with people, when people work with me, I'm not just a salesperson selling cabinets or doing a design, doing layout. I work with them from start to finish. I spent 2.5 hours at a house this week, actually a week ago, because the painters are this week, and laid out the colors for each room. And I have a master deck of Sherwin-Williams, and I go and we coordinate everything. But what Sherwin-Williams does is every year they put together a combination of colors. And you're going to see one of the things we're going to talk about as we move forward today is there's a term called moodier tones. White kitchens are terrific. They're always going to be terrific. But what people are doing also is people are breaking away from that traditionalism a little bit and taking a little more risk with the cabinetry and with the the islands or things like that, and bringing some interesting colors in. But what Sherwin-Williams does every year, they put together a palette, and they have 5 palettes this year, and you can see Heart, Haven, Play, Alive, and Mantra. And what they do is they come up with color coordinating colors in each one. So their big color this year and their color of the year is the navel. And you guys have been asking me for 2 or 3 years with the navel. We've done a lot of navel together, my clients and myself, over the years with an island, or even in the backsplash tiles or things like that. So industrial, doing this so long, people have come to me and said, can you do that? Did you ever hear of a guy named Franklin Lloyd Wright? And can you do a craftsman style kitchen for me? Or John, can you do that big Tuscan kitchen for me with all those heavy carved moldings and things like that? And as you've learned from me over the past several weeks, a lot of that is more of a thing of the past, where now it's much more of a simpler type of feel. Not that raised panel cabinet, maybe more of that recessed panel or that flat look. I'm doing a lot of kitchens right now where it's just a slab type of feel. In North Royalton, right now I'm working on a bathroom, where we're using just a nice, beautiful modern walnut, which is beautiful. So, but what's happening is, even though you're going more simple, and this ties into that wellness a little bit. Look at what we have here in front of us. This is interesting. Exposing the brick. Okay, this is the word industrial is coming to me more and more, even with that modern. So how is this more of industrial feel? Well, right away my eye is drawn to the brick. Open shelves are very popular today. The thicker open shelves. Look at the light fixture, introducing the metals. Okay, and I'm going to give away one of the tips from earlier that's coming up, is that today we can mix metals. So look at, you have your stainless in your refrigeration, in your ovens, and then look at that light fixture. Look at the wood on the ceiling. Okay, so we can, again, that doesn't have to be a ceiling, that could be a wall. So you can see here more and more, look at the butcher block on the countertops. More and more we can get and introduce these natural elements and give that industrial feel. And you can turn, it's like a faucet, you can turn this on and off. We don't have to go as elaborate as this. We could just add one accent to an area in doing that. Okay, this is a good one. Every year, well, probably not this year, the streak will be broken, but every year I go to Germany and go to a cabinet manufacturer that I've sold for 30 years called Light. Love the line. And I was there this year, and you could see, this is one of their displays that was from this year. That's walnut. And walnut is a big trend right now. And I think it's a trend that's going to stick around for a while. I have a client down that I'm working with down in North Canton that we're going to be doing walnut. Like I mentioned, that bathroom in North Royalton with walnut. So you can see how beautiful wood. This was a big thing. Walnut was big when I got into the business in the mid 80s. Not necessarily in a slab, but more into just a wood. Now, one of the things with walnut and some of these more, I'll refer to this as an exotic wood, you're going to have to make a decision. If you're going to go and look at this more modern look at how the graining is running on this. It's running horizontal. You're going to have your choice with a lot of manufacturers to run these grains either vertical or to run them horizontal. So you can see there, you get that feel of that nice horizontal line. And it depends on the quality of the product. And the other thing too is, this could be laminate or that could be wood. Now I was there and I could see it, but these laminates out of Europe are so refined today that you can't tell the difference if it's real wood or if it's really walnut. So that comes to play when we start talking about book matching and things like that. If we run it vertical, are they going to line up between the drawers and the doors and all that kind of stuff? And that's where I would guide you through that. Okay, here it is as promised. Moodier tones. Now, there's a couple different things here that I want you to look at. Number one, okay, look at, this is a European kitchen. Look at what's happening here. they have, and that's actually laminate against the back wall. You really can't tell the difference. But remember, we talked about that wellness feel and things like that, bringing the warmth of the woods in. Well, there it is on the paneled wall. Now, that's not just a paneled wall. That happens to be all pantry space, and I'm sure some of that back wall is refrigeration and things like that. The other thing is, look at now all of a sudden not the traditional going with that white, and that could be lacquer, that could be laminate, it could be acrylic or whatever. But there's a couple different things here that to look at, okay, with the trends. My North Royalton folks that doing the bathroom, when I went with them to pick the countertop this week, I said, you know what, you really want that modern look, right? And they said, yeah. I said, well, then we don't want to go with the 3 centimeter countertops, because the true European clean lines today, look at the thickness of that countertop. Now that's in centimeters, but normally what I would do in the States is I would go after 3/4 inch. That looks like that's about 1/2 inch. But now we can go with a lighter countertop. Even with, if you go on my gallery, the kitchen that I finished in Strongsville about 3 or 4 months ago that we've been referencing over the past several weeks, go back and look at that kitchen. That was done with the 2 centimeter quartz in a kitchen atmosphere. And you can see how nice that looks. Other thing here, look at the cabinetry. Bill, we talk about a trend. When I started in the business, the channel system was very popular. It was so hot. And look what's back. It hasn't taken off like I thought it would. I'm not a huge believer of it, but look at, there's no hardware. Now, one of the things that you have, I'm going off track a little bit, but I'm trying to feed you as much information as I can, is that you have a choice when we go with a European kitchen or European style kitchen. You don't have to have hardware. I like hardware. I mean, there's some beautiful hardware out there that's very minimalistic, but you can actually go with Servomatic systems where you can touch it and it'll be motorized and the doors and drawers are open for you. It doesn't even need to be motorized. It could be just a touch latch or something. The only time people really in the States are really jumping at that are the pull-out trash units. Some people like to have that pull-out trash where they could just bump their knee if they have eggs on their hands or something, or try to throw the eggshells away, things like that. So that is something that the people in the States would consider. Look at also those lights, the open shelves. Look what the Europeans do. And I have this right on display in my studio. But you notice I show you all these thick, even the Europeans do it, but they have all these thick open shelves and things like that that create really a nice feel. But look what the Europeans are doing. They're doing razor thin metal that's a carbon, powder coated carbon metal, and they're inlaying LED lights into the bottom of them. Those things will last forever, and they add really a nice accent. Okay, previous slide, I talked about European influences a lot, and so I'll carry you through a little bit here. Notice that again, mixing the woods with the laminates or the lacquers, very popular. Notice in the background there's that feature wall I talked about with stone, adding that element to it. There's the walnut in the bookcases off to the right. Floors, while we're talking about the floor here, one of the trends has always been with the floors would be to go after, like a 12 by 12 tile. And now there's a word out there called porcelain, which the time doesn't permit me to talk. That'll be a future webinar down the road. But what porcelain is basically it's a tile, and it gives the appearance of wood, stone, bamboo. And one of the things that we do with the floor tiles today is, instead of the 12 by 12s, I like to get the bigger sizes. Look at that, it's a 2 by 2. See it there, 2 foot by 2 foot, or it's probably metric there. But look how nice that is. And the other thing I like to do is, instead of having every single room being a different floor, why not go and invest in having the same floor run throughout and have that nice feel, which is very popular today with people. There's a dividing box again for plants, bringing the natural elements in. Somebody out there, I'm sure in this audience, it might be remodeling and blowing open walls and things like that. Two island kitchens are becoming very popular. This was a kitchen that I did about a year or two ago, and I actually attached a table, which is really, really nice to do. But you can see with multiple cooks, one of the big trends, I think one of the biggest trends out there, and maybe don't even call it a trend anymore, how many men are going to work in the kitchen? You know, when I'm not working, I'm cooking if I'm not on my bike, but I love to cook. And so we have a whole family, and my daughter home from Ohio State right now, and she could be a chef. And, so three of us are always in the kitchen working together. So you want to have that area, okay, to be able to accommodate everybody with the two island kitchens. That other island now in this one is acting as more of a drop. It actually has all their linen storage and all their fine chinas in there, and it's a landing area and a serving area attached to that table. There's a handleless cabinetry we talked about. Okay, now there's the 2x2 tile. This is a picture that I took in Germany. Look at the finish. Go on that panel on the bottom left. Okay, this is where the Europeans and everybody is really bringing in interesting metals, and the Europeans are always ahead of the Americans. That's actually stainless steel, and it actually has like a oxidized type of finish to it. Look how gorgeous that is. Now, do you use it in a whole kitchen? I don't know, depending on your budget and things like that. Or do you use it as an accent, maybe an island, or maybe a bar or something like that? The other thing is that one of the things that I absolutely love about the Europeans is that whenever they come out with something like this naturally would be their highest price point, they always duplicate it with a laminate, which would always be the lowest price point. So you could have this look in either the authentic stainless or a laminate that looks just like the stainless. But that handleless cabinetry, this is the one that I'm talking about, where it's either motorized or you touch it and it pops open. There is a dishwasher too, by the way, if anybody's intrigued by this. Miele, M-I-E-L-E, has a dishwasher that has a knock-knock feature where you just go and touch it, with your knuckles, and the dishwasher opens. There, before I talk about the sink, there's that composting unit. You can see there, right there. So you look at this kitchen. This is probably, if you were to say to me, John, show me a snapshot of the kitchen that's going in today, it's very clean, very simple. One of the things that I'll tell you what I like and what I'm not wild about with this kitchen. There's like 4 or 5 things, but let's focus on the sink first. So with the sink, this is the apron front sink. You'll get to know it maybe as the farmhouse sink, but with the apron front sink, we can get that either double bowl, we could get that single bowl. A lot of people want to go more towards the single bowl today, but we have that opportunity to do the single or the double. There are going to be different materials that are going to be offered to you with this. And right now, this apron front sinks are hot again. I'll tell you that this is the bell curve, and we're on an upward slope. I would say probably half the kitchens, this apron front sink. Doing a laundry room in Brecksville right now, and she wanted to put an apron front sink in. Now, the different materials that we can use, and this could be for sinks. This is going to be a future webinar coming up down the road, but we'll talk about plumbing and sinks and faucets. But the materials that you can use with this sink are, number 1, stainless steel, number 2, cast iron, number 3, quartz, and number 4, fire clay. Fire clay is the big winner when you come to these sinks. I'm not going to say it's totally indestructible, but fire clay looks just like cast iron, as you can see there, but it doesn't chip, doesn't scratch half as much as you would get with a cast iron. So that's the fire clay. Now, what's a couple other things that I like and dislike about this? I love the frameless. Remember on day 1, way back when the snow was flying, we talked about the cabinetry. There's our frameless cabinetry. The thing that I'm not overly excited on this one is that top drawer head selection. Do you notice that they have the 5-piece drawer there? Normally what I like to do, especially in transitional kitchens, is to take and go with the a slab, just a flat on the top, and then my bigger drawers would be that. There's the open shelves, there's that composting. But look at this. Now, here's an interesting one. Remember way back, I talked about transitional kitchens. You put yourself on a teeter-totter. Okay, this is the teeter-totter kitchen. Now, do we want to have this kitchen look more traditional, or do we want it to lean itself a little more on the modern? Okay, I would say this is probably leaning a little more on the modern, very slightly, but a little more. Look at the faucet that was selected. Okay, look at the cabinet style. The hardware tends to tone it down a little bit, but the interesting thing here is look at the backsplash. Okay, almost all of you folks want to put subway tiles in. And just tell you a little story. I had a kitchen about 10 years ago here in the Heights on the east side, and the wife wanted more of a traditional look. The husband wanted a little more of a contemporary look. So we decided to go with a frameless, with more of a traditional style door, like a shaker style door, things like that. But I winked at the husband when we were going to the tile store, and I said, hey, guess what? I have your back tonight. And he looked at me and says, what are you talking about? I said, just watch me. I have your back. So we go in, and the wife darts right to the subway tiles. And I go to the subway tiles, and I said, yeah, subway tiles probably the direction we want to go. But what do you think of this? Now, a subway tile traditionally is 3 inches by 6 inches. Notice what size that subway tile is. That subway tile is either 1.5 inches or 2. It's probably 2. That is 2 by 12. Look at those nice, clean European lines to that backsplash. These are the little things that I refer to as a teeter-totter. So do you see how that has more of a modern type of feel just by the selection of that tile? So that is something. This is a fun one. This is a kitchen. This kitchen is, it's a beautiful kitchen, but this is a kitchen that's really dear to my heart. I love the people, absolutely love the people I did this kitchen for. This is on the east side. But Melissa and I went shopping. Again, I've mentioned several times, very hands-on. I go make all the selections with my clients. And we go, and you can see there's a lot of stainless in the kitchen. And we go, and all of a sudden, she sees these light fixtures, these pendants over the island. And we asked the person, does it come in stainless or, different finish? And they go and look and come back and say no, and her heart was broken. And she said, John, but I really like these. And I said, you know what, then let's get them, But look how that ties in to the ovens and things like that. And then, what's funny? This was back last fall. And then all of a sudden, I'm reading about the trends for the year and things like that. And the biggest trend, if you go Google it right now, trends in kitchens, mixing and matching metals. And I say, my God, here we beat the curve on this one. And so you can very strategically mix metals in the kitchens. And you can see it's effective here. Okay, here's a real fun one. Right, if you guys are taking notes, okay, the name of this company, tile company, is called WOW, W-O-W. And it's represented in Cleveland here at Virginia Tile. But when we go in and look at this, now, it doesn't necessarily need to be a backsplash or anything. It could be another feature. It could be a feature wall around a fireplace. There's a lot of things that it could be. But look at all of a sudden, back it used to be in the 80s, if people wanted interest in tile, they would be doing these Delft tiles and all these, Dutch ladies and all those really interesting things. And you're going to see something coming up in the future I'm going to get opinions, likes or dislikes. But when you look at this, okay, do you see a detail, but it's very subtle, okay? So you're not seeing all of a sudden an in-your-face color, because one of the things, especially with modern kitchens, you don't want you don't want your eye going everywhere. You want it just almost like a Dove bar when you put it in your mouth. You just want to let it melt and just savor it, and that's what you want to do with these more modern style kitchens and even the transitional kitchens. You try to eliminate all the busyness. This, you're going to get some busyness depending on the pattern, but you know what? It doesn't have to be there, like I said, or maybe you like that busyness there. They have some really interesting patterns. If you guys, anybody joining me for the 10 o'clock, then you'll see that we have, you know, bathroom situations where that can apply. Okay. Okay. Here's a good one. Oh, by the way, what color's that tile? Okay. See the blue. There's that navy blue coming up. See the hardware, it could be routed in. So we can do a lot of minimalistic stuff. But look at the tile now. Okay, two things about the tile. Number one, it's oversized. So oversized tile today is really, really big. Not only that, if you want to add some interest into the tile, you know, instead of going all the way this direction, why not more of a subtle feel? The other thing too is, look at how that is patterned. Instead of being a staggered pattern, like a brick pattern, it's a stacked pattern. All of these things that I'm talking about create that teeter-totter effect one way or the other. So here we have a modern kitchen that we put a subway tile in, and look how effective it is. Subway tile, but it's oversized, okay? Has a pattern to it if we want it, and then we go more the modern direction by doing the stacked pattern to it. Okay, here's something that is really coming on strong. And a lot of these ovens, you know, go way back. If you guys have been following me through this whole thing, go back and we talked in the appliance webinar. Remember, we talked about that steam oven. And one of the things with the steam oven, very effective way of cooking is sous vide cooking. Basically, it's cooking in a pouch with water and steam. And it's maintaining a very, very healthy way of cooking, all the nutrients and things like that. And a lot of the restaurants use that feature. So if this is something you're interested in, there are some ovens out there that have a sous vide feature, or you can get into the steam oven and things like that. But that's something, a cooking trend that is, you know, that has hit the retail market. Air frying. I don't have an air fryer. If anybody out there has one, and if they can make a comment if they love it or not. My daughter has one and she swears by it. But one of the things that you're going to see with some of these ovens today, and this was a debatable one whether to put up here or not, but I just wanted you to be aware of it, is that you're going to get, when you shop on some of these ovens, of having an air frying feature. Now, there's such a fine line between air frying and convection, because basically they're both dry air circulating around. The very slim difference between convection and between the air frying is that the air frying will take the air at a faster speed and at a little bit of a higher temperature. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't go out and pick your oven just because it has that air frying feature, as opposed to if it has convection, the odds are it's pretty much going to do the same effective job for you. But remember that when you go out there, again, you have your sous vide feature on some of these ovens, you have your air frying feature on some of these ovens. Okay, here's the one I promised. Tell me what you like or dislike. Anybody want to make a comment on that? You're going to see a lot of this out there right now, with the floor tiles, bathroom tiles for showers all over. You're getting back into these bold patterns. And so what's happening is, you know what, my question to the client is, doggone, are you going to be able to live with that for the next 20, 30 years? This was very popular back in the 80s when I started in the business. So that's something that you'd have to, you know, if you want to make a statement with the floor tile. One thing though that I see that's really interesting here that has been really trendy and very popular with me over the last couple of years. Look at those windows. What color are those windows? You know, and if you go around and see a lot of the new construction, you're seeing they're putting a lot of black windows in. So that's something that's available, you know, and out there for us. Tactile textures, and this comes involved with, again, a lot of what we talked about earlier with that industrial look. But look at the tactile textures. Now, we can see there's we didn't see it earlier, but there's a reclaimed wood. You can see over that window bench on the right. Look at the beams, and then there's that brick paying us a visit again. There's mixing the metals, on those lights. But here's something that's adding, and it'll come up in a minute again. Look at the backsplash, the marble look on the backsplash. Again, adding the natural stone and the natural feel with the tactile textures on that. Very popular, this reclaimed wood. Okay, look at that one. This is very popular again now. Look at when I started, everybody wanted that copper ceiling or, different details on the ceiling. Now all of a sudden, we go and we can add that ceiling as the fifth wall and create a real nice feature with that. So we can have the whole atmosphere be light and airy. And then if we want to create a feature wall and it's limited, why not have the ceiling do it? So you can see there, it adds really a nice touch, to now incorporate the ceiling. Open layouts, very popular. So many times, I think 1, 2, 3 times over the past 2 weeks, we've gone and knocked in the design phase, have knocked the walls out. I'm even taking a fireplace out that was dividing the kitchen and the family room now to just so it's all open as one space. But one of the things that I love, and when I start working with families, like, even do they have children? Do they want to open things up so that everybody is welcome in? And you have to strategically do it. Do you do it so that you don't want to do it strategically so that kids doing their homework are in the way of your work triangle and things like that? But there's so much more. Cooking is a culture. Cooking is, and that's why I'm such a huge believer and fan of Anthony Bourdain and all his shows. I mean, taking you around the world and just showing how important food is to the culture of that society is incredible. And it's the same thing here in the States where, people more and more are going to, stay home. They're going to cook. They're going to enjoy family, and that's what's happening with these open layouts today. Single level islands. People have talked about in the past that can I raise my island up so that I have, a larger area so people don't see me cooking and doing that. Well, it's a reverse now. People want you to be welcoming into the space. And now by having this single island, which is probably 98% of the times I do a single level island, what happens now is that it doubles up or triples up. That could be a sitting area for somebody doing reading the paper while somebody's cooking, or a neighbor comes over and has a glass of wine while you're entertaining, or kids doing their homework, and then all that could be cleaned off. And then when it's holiday season, like my folks that I finished a kitchen for 2 years ago out on the west side of Cleveland, all of a sudden she has 3 sisters and an ethnic family, and they spend a week just cooking Christmas cookies. Okay, and they do the same thing at Easter with the pizza and the nut rolls and things like that. So they have 3 women around the island, and that was a kitchen I did a 2-island kitchen on. So they had that flexibility. So what we want to do is we want to maximize and have these kitchens have that flexibility to be multitasking and all do different things. This is probably, if you say, okay, John, you've talked now for the last, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 minutes. What would be your top trend right now? And I would have to go as far as to say it's probably the LVT, the luxury vinyl tile. This is hot. This is as hot as it comes. And I'll explain the reason why it's hot. Because number one, and don't let that word vinyl scare you. Again, if you go back to that Strongsville kitchen and look at that floor, that was an LVT floor. But over the last couple of years, okay, this floor, forget the looks, forget the function for a minute. Just let's talk about the price. These people have saved thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And the reason is because a lot of you have tile running through your house. Well, now we can have a floor go down right over that tile. So you don't have that cost of tearing all that tile out and prepping it. But that's just one reason. The second reason now is look at the look. You know, these materials today, these materials are so good and so durable, but they also do such a fabulous job of replicating. That happens to be replicating wood, but that could be replicating tile. You can even take this luxury vinyl and in a tile pattern and grout it. They have an epoxy grout, so it looks just like a tile floor. And then the third thing that's really nice about it, what about you have dogs, or what if kids run in from that front door from the snow or mud or things like that onto that floor? Or what if they set their boots down? The kids coming in, they take their boots off and they don't put it on that carpet and they put it on the floor, the wood floor. You got the situation you have to deal with. Or what about salt in your shoe, when you come in? So the LVT really addresses those things. They do a great job. I'll give a shout out to a company for you guys out there, Marshall Carpeting, called Marshall One on the East Side. I've been working with them. I'm through the third generation. That's how long I've been doing this. Of that company's been around, I don't know, 70, 80 years. But they do all my flooring, carpet, and the LVT and that. Ryan Ween is the guy that I would call. He's the owner's son. So that's the LVT. When we did our lighting, I showed you the slide, the LED plaster in lighting. Look now what we can do, how we can plaster that lighting in and create. I mean, if you go into Cleveland Lighting, you'll see an example where they did the Cleveland skyline with that. So there's so much fun. Forget the function. There's so much fun we can do with LED lighting today about, taking and putting it in and creating different things. And remember, I also talked about we can go and change colors and have it, do the pastels like the lava lamps and all that. So not only from a functional standpoint, we can create a real aesthetically pleasing one. Smart appliances. These are, that's going to be something that you're going to, when you go shopping, I spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks with appliance people at appliance stores, and they're all given the opportunity, do you want to connect to the Wi-Fi? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? So you can control your appliances from around the world. But just so you know what's coming over the next several years, I've seen it in Europe, is that, like, let's give you an example on a refrigerator. They're going to be putting, they already are doing it in Europe. They can put refrigerators, cameras in refrigerators, and they're going to know when your eggs are low. Like my daughter, and she was the guilty one, so she can't say anything. She made a beautiful souffle and that for dinner one night. But what happened was she used up all the eggs, and then she comes back 3 days later and say, "Hey, we have no eggs. I can't cook." She did not write it on the top. But if they had this system in place for us today, those eggs would have been delivered via Amazon, okay, or Heinen's or whoever, and in your refrigerator, and we would never run out. That's what's coming. The biggest problem with that right now is the delivery service on it. How do you get it into the house? The Europeans have the technology, but the problem is these drones. How do you get them into the high-rise flats? The drone with one address. They have to try to figure all that out. That's coming. Or what about being up in bed and saying, "Alexa, get my coffee going," okay? And then your coffee system is brewing it, so when you come downstairs, it's already done. What about a oven that doubles up as a refrigerator, so that you could put your pot roast in before you go to work at 6:30 or 7, and then have it kick on at 2 o'clock, turn into an oven. On and on and on. And the technology and the Wi-Fi and the recipes, and I could go on and on about this, but this is all out there for us. So how much do you want to get involved in the smart cooking and all that as you go and explore? Flush mount appliances. You guys out there that are attending that I'm working with, you're going to say, "Oh my God, there he goes again." But there's my favorite. I'd say this is my favorite appliance. Forget cooktops. That's my favorite appliance. It's the Wolf cooktop, the gas cooktop. But notice how it's flush with that countertop. So again, very clean, very sleek, very modern feel to it. Galley sink. You're seeing more of these double layered sinks. Look at the ledge. They call them the ledge sinks and things like that. The Galley is a brand. Edelman Plumbing has a great display of it. But look what we can do now with the sink preparation. No more is it a sink, it's a water station. But you can do drain boards, we can do colanders, we can do cutting boards, we can do everything under the sun. We can do it 4 foot wide, 5 foot wide, 2 faucets, things like that. So again, how much do you want to invest in the kitchen? How many people are going to be cooking there? You know, and what are you looking for? Plumbing, when we start looking at plumbing, yesterday picking for that laundry room in Brecksville, we were actually putting a shower in there too. So when the husband comes in and the wife comes in from working out or from working in the yard or the dog, they can just shower right in the laundry room off the garage. But we had to pick the fixtures, and we wanted to pick fixtures, even though it was going to have an apron front sink, and even though it was going to have, you know, a little bit of traditionalism, we wanted to have more of a sleek architectural lines for the plumbing. So you have to decide, you know, how much rigidity do you want on that teeter-totter? Where do you want to go with it? Also look at the sink, you know, look at the bottom of that sink there. This actually worked into a composite material, but you know, you could have sharper corners in your sinks, you know, instead of that big radius. So you can have a micro radius, you can have a square corner, inside corner, which is harder to clean. I would not recommend it, but you're going to see more and more of these clean lines. Okay, that brings us to the end. Again, number one, thank you very much. But what we have here is, everybody's ever interested in design guide. Nicole, if you're listening, I don't know if you're listening today, I actually went to Strongsville and dropped this off for her. And is she enjoying it? But this is something cost me 13 bucks to print, 15 bucks I sell it for. But everything I talk about is in this book, and all my new clients get it and things like that. So if you're interested, let me know. The other thing too is I have kitchen class coming up June 2nd, going to be virtual. I've been doing it for 30 years. People love it. So you hear me for 4, 5, 6 hours, and I'm going to have it in October. I don't know if it's going to be here or virtual or whatever, but you notice I'm giving you guys all of the tools. I also do design only services for you, or I can do the whole project, things like that. But I will tell you this, the phone is ringing off the hook. And so if you guys are planning on a project over the next year, I would really, really get moving on it, because it's going to be a backlog situation, which it's already starting to hit. And, you know, so I would say get out there, start talking to people, give me a call. I can help you, whatever you want to do. And if anybody has any one-on-one questions, you can email me at John@the Hall Design Group. I also have 2 websites. It's not on here if you want to write it down. I have a design only company, which the website's about 80% done. So I have 2 websites, and I have a big presence on Houzz, Houzz. But my other website is kitchen, the letter E, and then designs.com. Kitchen E Designs, that's plural on the designs.com. So you can get on there, okay? Okay, I've got about a 10-minute break. We got a full house at 10 o'clock. If anybody wants to listen in on bathrooms, I know we have a number of you guys coming back. So go get a cup of coffee, and it's going to be a fun one. And again, thank you guys for this series. I had a lot of fun. I have all your emails, because I think what I'm going to do is pick back up on webinars as we move through the summer, fall. We'll talk about flooring in detail, sinks, faucets, countertops. We have all that stuff to talk about. So I have you guys all on my email list. Okay, signing off. See you at 10. Thank you. Bye-bye.